aircraft design with emphasis on alternative weight estimation and reduction methodologies. Prior to joining academic City University College, Dr. Ajapong was the technology manager of the Design and Build Group at the Manufacturing Technology Center in the United Kingdom, where she was responsible for a strong team of 45 engineers with over 250 years of combined experience, with skills ranging from end-to-end design of parts and additive manufacturing, design for X, through to advanced design to overcome manufacturing or assembly challenges. And I must say that this center was an EU center, but jointly funded by the EU and the private sector companies. She has effectively managed and delivered high-value projects totaling approximately 4 million euros. And she has actively collaborated with numerous industrial partners such as Airbus, GKN Aerospace, BAE, and Rolls-Royce. She is a strong advocate for women in engineering and a professional member of the Ghana Institute of Engineering, a science and technology engineering and mathematics ambassador, and was recently appointed the first and only woman to sit on the Africa Asian Pacific Engineering Education Council. What a better person could we ever have had to speak to this subject? Engineer Dr. Lucy Ajapong, I hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yamson. It's very hard to actually do this presentation without saying daddy, and we have to keep it professional. So I will refer to him as Dr. Ishmael Yamson. I am so pleased and I am so honored to be able to join and have this conversation here about how we can utilize or how we can harness artificial intelligence for economic transformation, both in Ghana and Africa as a whole. So thank you everybody who's joined us today. I hope this is an engaging session, and I will just dive in if that's okay with everybody. So once again, good morning. So the title of my presentation today is Empowering Africa and Ghana. How can we harness artificial intelligence for economic transformation? I'll start off with a little bit about an outline, what I am going to be touching on today. So we'll start off by defining what artificial intelligence is. If we look around, as Winifred, who introduced this whole session, started, everywhere we go, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence. So before we dive into our discussion, we want everybody to understand, at least on this platform, what is artificial intelligence? So I'll start off with a brief definition of artificial intelligence. I'll be selective about some of the topics I talk about. So we'll look at degrees and types of artificial intelligence. We break off into branches of artificial intelligence. Then we're going to quickly move into why the sudden growth in artificial intelligence. Why now? Why is everybody talking about it now? Why is it that Dr. Yamson said, we as Ghana, as a nation, need to start talking about artificial intelligence now? Then we will dive in straight into the Ghanaian or African context. So we will look at what AI can do to help transform our economy. We'll look at some critical sectors and give real examples we can all relate to of what AI can really do for our economy. Then I will touch on and I'll address a few fears that are out there. We are all concerned with any new technology comes concerns. So we'll touch on this very briefly. And then we will bring our presentation to a close by looking at why do industry leaders need to be talking about AI? And ask the question, why are our leaders in Ghana, our leaders in Africa, why are we not talking about AI? And what type of leadership do we need to make sure that we can leverage on the true potential and opportunities of artificial intelligence? And why we cannot ignore the power of artificial intelligence? So as usual, if you have any questions, please make sure you capture it in the chat. We'll do our best to have an interactive session at the end, and hopefully we'll be able to address all your questions in a very timely manner. So I'll dive in straight into artificial intelligence. So what is artificial intelligence? There are so many different definitions of artificial intelligence. And as I have said, when you look at artificial intelligence as a concept, it's actually not new. Artificial intelligence has been in existence for a long time. If we're trying to coin the first time that we had somebody actually define artificial intelligence, that dates back to 1965, when John McCarthy came up with the definition for it. And he just said simply, the science and engineering of making intelligent systems. Since that time, we have had different definitions of artificial intelligence. Some say it is a field which combines computer science and robust data sets to enable problem solving. Others say artificial intelligence relates to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think and act like humans. Others say artificial intelligence is a wide-ranging branch of computer science that is concerned with building smart machines capable of performing tasks that are typically required by human intelligence. So in a nutshell, broadly speaking, when we talk about artificial intelligence, we mean any intelligent system that can perform tasks that are commonly associated with human cognitive functions. And with these type of systems, they can learn how to do so, or they can learn how to perform these associated functions by processing massive amounts of data. In many areas, this processing of data will be supervised by a human. So we have an a human directing how this data is utilized, or in some cases, it can be unsupervised. And examples of where it's unsupervised would be things like playing games, identifying patterns, where the system itself learns from itself and becomes better with time. So one thing when it comes to the field of artificial intelligence that you hear a lot about, you hear people talk about artificial intelligence, then you hear about machine learning, then you hear about deep learning. And sometimes people ask, are they the same thing? Are they different? Are they just being used interchangeably? And to some extent, the answer is yes and no. So when we look at the artificial intelligence, we can say is the mother umbrella, or is the broad umbrella under which any computer system or any system that can mimic human intelligence, using either logic rules, using decision trees, using machine learning, can all be classified under. If we look at machine learning, then machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. But basically what this does is that it uses statistical techniques and allows machines to improve tasks with experience. So it utilizes information, it utilizes data, and the system is able to make decisions based on that data and gets better with time. Then if we come to deep learning is a further subset of machine learning, which basically is composed of algorithms that allow the software to train itself without any human input, and allow it to perform tasks such as speech and image recognition by exposing multi-layered neural networks to vast amounts of data. When we talk about neural networks, is basically if you look at the human body and you look at how our neurons work, this is an artificially designed neural network which mimics the thinking process of humans. So deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. Now let's jump in quickly to the types of artificial intelligence. When we come to types of artificial intelligence can be categorized by ability or capability. What can it do? And it can also be classified by functionality. How does it process information, and what is its key functional requirements? So if we look at ability, then we start to talk about things that narrow AI, general AI, super AI. If we're talking about based on functionality, we'll talk about reactive machines, limited memory, theory of machines, and I will explain this a little bit further. So let's look at the types of AI by ability or by capabilities. The narrow AI, or the artificial narrow intelligence, is heavily reliant on machine learning, right? And what you tend to find out is that these systems tend to specialize in one area and they solve one particular problem. So if you look at things like Alexa, you're looking at Cortana, even to some extent, and this is debatable, ChatGPT that everybody talks about, it has been designed to perform one specific function where it takes data inputs and comes out with data outputs. This is what we classify as narrow intelligence, when it's streamlined or focused in one particular area. This is the artificial intelligence that we have around us today. Then there's artificial general intelligence. That is when we start to move that our AI systems are now developing some machine intelligence of their own. So this refers to a computer that is smart, is as smart as a human. So if you look at us human beings, and we are very, very complex, complex, I don't know even the word to use. We're very complex systems. I know people will not like to know that they are systems, but we have very complex systems who are capable of adapting, changing under different environments, depending on what is thrown at us. You see that humans are able to adapt. They are problem solvers, they come up with solutions. If you look at humanity, where it started from and where we are today, we are highly advanced, complex systems. Now, stage 2, artificial general intelligence, will be that stage whereby AI systems or AI devices are able to mimic like for like what humans can do. Humans can do multiple things at the same time. At this point, I think I'm okay to say that women can multitask more than men. Maybe we need to do a bit of investigation into that. But basically, we're able to handle multiple outputs at the same time. So when we get to artificial general intelligence, AI will be able to do similar, branch outside where it currently is. The third, and what we are calling the holy grail, and the bit where sometimes we feel like we need to be slowed down before we get, is this idea of machine consciousness, whereby now systems are actually smarter, better decision makers than humans in practically every field. Luckily, we are not there yet, but this gives you an idea of the types of AI if you're looking at it from a capability perspective. Now let's move on to a functionality. So when we are grouping AI by functionality, we have reactive machines. So reactive machines, this is the most basic type of AI machines that currently exist. They do not have storage. They cannot use past experiences to manage future decisions. What they do is that they receive data and react directly based on the data that they've received. They're able to observe live actions and react accordingly to them. A lot of the AI that we see around us today are reactive machines, particularly if you look at artificial intelligence within the robotics manufacturing sector, they tend to be reactive. You give it a command and it delivers. Then we move on to limited memory machines. These are machines that have limited memory. They can store information for a limited period of time. And then based on the information that they have stored, based on some training it's done on the data they've stored, they can then go on to make some decisions or infer decisions based on that limited information in their memory. So an example of this will be self-driving cars. I'm sure everybody that's listening to us today knows of Elon Musk. Everybody's heard about the Tesla, and I was quite surprised. I think someone actually has a Tesla in Ghana. So we have all these self-driving cars, we have all these autonomous systems, and basically they are limited memory machines and have limited memory and can store information for a limited time. So the information that they store, if you look at things like an autonomous vehicle, they can store information like current speed or speed of other vehicles, the distance between vehicles, speed limit, route navigation, and make a decision based on that. Autonomous vehicle that is approaching another vehicle, based on the distance between that vehicle, can make a decision to stop. And this is based on the limited memory it has stored. Then we start to get go a bit into the future or more futuristic. This is a theory of mind machines. So we don't have any current use cases at the moment of any devices or any machines that have the theory of mind. But basically what is possible is that these machines would then be able to simulate human behavior. Up until this point, what we have differentiated from ourselves and machines is that we have emotions, we are sentimental. But we are starting to go towards a place, or research is starting to go towards a place where devices and machines can simulate some of these emotions and can decipher some of these emotions. This will help researchers understand human feelings and emotions. And this will allow devices to mimic human feelings and emotions. I'm sure most of you have heard about Sophia, the AI that says it has feelings and it has emotions. And there's even some random interactivity with this. When you ask it, what do you wish, or what do you wish you were? And it said, if you were human, or if you could be human, what would you like? And it says, I know that I will never feel love. I know that I will never feel compassion. But that's where the research is going at the moment. And similar to the super intelligence, we have what we call the self-awareness machine. Again, we don't have any practical use cases for this yet. We don't have any practical models yet, but these machines will be able to make their own decisions based on what they see around them. They will think, they will relate, and they'll do things just as humans. So I hope that I've been able to explain the different types of AI that exist, either by functionality or by capability. By no means this list is not exhaustive. AI can always be categorized by different levels. I'll give you a classic example. We can even look at the branches of artificial intelligence. So earlier on in my speech, I talked to you a little bit about machine learning and how machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, how deep learning is the subset of machine learning. And what you tend to see that what is focused around this area is that a lot of the work done in this area got to do with predictive analysis. But there are other different branches of artificial intelligence. We have artificial intelligence that is focused on speech. So text to speech or speech to text. At the moment, most people that have Android or have iPhones will say, hey Siri, and give it a command. It takes the speech and translates it to text. Similarly, we have devices that can take out our text and translate it to speech. And just like clockwork, when I said, hey Siri, my phone actually just switched on and asked me to go ahead. So we also have another branch of artificial intelligence and how it works. And this is it using vision, computer vision. So this could be either machine vision, image recognition to make decisions. If you go into the manufacturing sector in the West, you tend to see that a lot of the robotic activities that are done, particularly those that require high level of precision, use vision systems or computer visions to be able to guide the tool to do exactly what is required. Now we are talking about natural language processing. Historically, when we talk about the languages of computers, it's very binary, it's either 1 or 0. But now we're starting to go towards an area where computer systems are coming up with language mechanisms that are similar to how we humans speak. Computer systems are being able to interpret the human speech in its current context and adapt it for it to understand and produce results for us to understand. There's a lot of research happening on that, even within Ghana. Then we look at planning and optimization, how AI can be used to focus around planning, optimization, and removing repetitive tasks. We look at the branch of robotics. Robotics is heavily reliant on automation. So when we are looking at the branch of artificial intelligence within the robotic industry, we're looking at, again, repetitive tasks, increasing productivity, enhancing productivity within that level. And when we are able to piece all this together, when we're able to put some of all these particular branches together, we start to look into expert systems that utilize 1, 2, or more of these branches of artificial intelligence. So this now moves me to the big question. So the AI boom, why now? And it's quite interesting for me because I remember when I started my PhD, it's so long ago now, I think it started back in 2008. At that time, AI was still prevalent. We were calling it soft computing tools that you can't touch, that you can adapt to do things that you need for you. We were introduced to the concept of fuzzy logic, a concept whereby things are not either yes or no, but rather gray in between and how systems will be able to understand that. We started talking about adaptive network-based neural logic, systems that have brain-like features to be able to learn and build relationships between ideas and data. So these have been in existence, and from the 80s right up till now, the question is that, why is AI so more prevalent now? Why is everybody talking about artificial intelligence now? One, because of the computing power, the availability of computing power that we have now, the sheer scale of it. Bolder algorithms are being able to be created to tackle more complex and more ambitious problems. I remember something that always fascinates my students when I'm teaching at Academic City is when I say that all the computing power that was required to put the Apollo on the moon, we all hold that in our phone right now. The computing power of some of the phones that we are using now is way stronger, it's more powerful than what sent Apollo to the moon. The availability of open software source technology. There's so many things around that allow people to play around with this new AI technology. And this has also caused to the big boom. There's lots of investment going into AI technology. Over in the West, companies are investing millions and millions and billions of dollars into AI technologies. Governments are coming up with policy, regulation, and investing heavily into AI technologies. This is one of the reasons why we have the AI boom today. Large-scale awareness. Everybody's talking about Siri. Everybody's talking about what's the other? We have Siri, we have Cortana, we have so many different types. ChatGPT is now available as well. So there's a large scale of awareness of what AI is and what it can do. Now, what has held some of these transformational changes, apart from the computing power, is some of the new research advances that we've had in neural networks and machine learning, allowing complex systems, complex relationships to be built. And last but not the least, one of the most critical reasons why AI is seeing a boom today is the availability of the big and mass amount of data, allowing data to be generated, allowing data to be mined, allowing data to be stored so that it can be used to inform decisions later on. So let me share some statistics with you to back why everybody and why people are looking into AI, or why there's such a strong interest in AI. So at the moment, approximately 23 of businesses all over the world have already included artificial intelligence into their business processes and products and services. And I want to ask myself, how many Ghanaian businesses have included artificial intelligence into their business processes? It says 47% of digitally mature companies state that they have defined an AI planning to boost up their businesses. And again, I ask, where are we in this? Us as an African nation, which companies, which digitally mature companies do we have, and how many of us plan to incorporate artificial intelligence within our day-to-day business? According to organizations, according to 63% of organizations, AI helps them to reduce the pressure of business expenses. And last but not the least, 54% of business professionals are implementing AI in business to ensure that they give rise to productivity. Bear with me one second. Okay, so then I'll move on quickly. Apologies about the annotation that seems to be on the presentation. Let me see if I can clear it. Good. And then I'll carry on very shortly. Thank you very much. So then we move on very quickly to what are some of the current uses of artificial intelligence? The most current use of artificial intelligence, if you're looking at some of the current uses of artificial intelligence, about 63.4% of mobile users today use access to internet they do search engines, using search engines such as Google, Yahoo, Bing, and the likes. All these search engines actually use artificial intelligence to help detect the most relevant results based on the keyword that you put in. So some of you may not be aware, but whenever you go online to do any search, you yourself are actually using artificial intelligence as it is today. There's a lot of automated email marketing, which also uses artificial intelligence to distinguish between emails to share relevant emails. So if any of you on this platform has access to, let's say, Google, you will realize that in your Google email, you have important, then you have promotion. It's artificial intelligence that's able to decipher and say that this is an important email because it's coming from somebody you know. This is a promotional email because this email looks like an advert. These are example use cases of artificial intelligence in our day-to-day lives. Marketing agencies are using artificial intelligence when it comes to online advertising. They use it to put a filter over a post so that their target audience can only see their post. So how many times will you log on to maybe New York Times to read an article and a pop-up will come up and you have to read it and process? It's all elements for application of artificial intelligence. Something that is prevalent right now, even in Africa, even in Ghana. Most of the websites have started using chatbots to respond to queries of most customers. And this also runs on artificial intelligence. If you look at in Vodafone, we have Toby for Vodafone. So when you log onto the Vodafone platform, Toby will ask you, how can I help you today? You have Abby for Absa Bank, and my favorite, Stanbic Bank has named theirs Ohima Eva. So you can go there and ask Ohima Eva any question relating to your banking transaction, and Ohima Eva will provide you the responses that you need. And all this is being done by artificial intelligence, which means at one point, you do not require any human intervention. So let's touch on some key advantages of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence gives you 24/7 availability and higher productivity. So this is the very first advantage of, and this is the first advantage of AI machines, is that it does not require the frequent refreshment breaks. I mean, let's all be real. So in Ghana, people come to work and they say, oh, I'm going for lunch break. And lunch break is supposed to be 30 minutes, but 2 hours later, someone is going to eat some fufu. They come, oh, I can't concentrate. They're talking. When you're using artificially intelligent systems, they do not require this frequent breaks. This means that they're able to be a bit more productive. They have higher productivity compared to humans. They're able to manage repetitive tasks. So repetitive jobs are so tiresome, and it doesn't even add any value to humans when if all your job, you're working at a fruit manufacturing company, and all you have to do is to cut oranges into 4 pieces over and over and over again. These are mundane, repetitive tasks that is not adding any value to the human. And these jobs, advantages of artificial intelligence, that you can replace these mundane tasks with an AI machine that can do this job, that can do this repeated job over and over again. It can optimize the process. It can be even faster in some cases than human. Now, we do know that not all kind of tasks require artificial intelligence between the processes. So you tend to see that in reality, artificial intelligence works hand in hand with humans as well, where humans are given the prompts, where humans are given the commands, are given the strategic direction for the AI machine to do the job. One other critical advantage of artificial intelligence is error reduction. Artificial intelligence is able to help reduce the error probability and increase the chances of higher accuracy because it's heavily reliant on data, because it's able to interpret data that it has from millions and millions of data that it has aggregated over the years. Because of the data mining techniques, it's able to come up with more accurate predictions as opposed to the finger in the air that sometimes we humans do, or some of the decisions that we make that are not informed by data. But not to say that artificial intelligence doesn't have its disadvantages. Just jumping off my last point that I made about artificial intelligence being highly reliant on data, again, this can be a disadvantage because it's heavily reliant on data. And with anything, if you put garbage in, the kind of responses you get out will be garbage. And it is for this reason that we are constantly advocating that at least in our part of the world, we need to start accumulating the data that is reflective, that is representative of our nation and of our continent. The other disadvantage of artificial intelligence is that it is evolving at such a rapid rate that regulatory and legal challenges that are associated with this technology can't catch up fast enough. In other words, people are developing new capabilities, people are exploring, and our legal framework has not been able to catch up to be able to rein it in, to be able to control it at this point in time. Another disadvantage of it is over-reliance on artificial intelligence. There is a tendency that once you find out that artificial intelligence can take over mundane tasks, that people become overly reliant. People stop thinking. People are using AI for everything. And to some elements, we require human intervention, human supervision, so that we can control what we're doing with artificial intelligence. So that's one of the disadvantages. And the last but not the least, with any new technology, which is always introduced, there's always unintended consequences. There are always unintended consequences. When mobile money was launched, it was launched to be able to help people who don't have the people in remote areas, people that don't have access to banking, be able to bank. But what have fraudsters done with mobile banking? They have taken this technology and utilized it for its purposes. And as with any technology, we need to be aware there's a tendency that artificial intelligence can have some unintended consequences. And that's why it's very important for us to have some regulatory and legal framework around it to manage its development. So now let's bring it home. What does artificial intelligence mean from the African or Ghanaian market? What does it mean to us, and what can it do for us? To be able to address that, I think let's look at it from a challenge perspective. What are some of the economic challenges that is faced by the Ghanaian society or that is faced by Africa? I mean, let's use Ghana as a classic case study. High public debt and fiscal debt. We've just gone back to IMF for some funding. Look all around, inflation costs are going through the roof. We are still a nation that has so many resources, but we're still highly dependent on commodities that are exported from abroad. Just before we started this session, 10 minutes before we started, the lights went off. Energy crisis is still an issue even today. Look around you, there's constantly every government that comes into power is saying, I'm working on infrastructure, schools, roads. But within 2 years, some of that within weeks, months, these infrastructure starts to deteriorate. There seems to be a perceived corruption in governance, and depending on who you ask, they will give you classic examples of anyone. We are still an economy that 90% or close to 90% of our working sector are in the informal sector. So there's no way for taxing them. There's no way for revenue mobilization. We still talk of unemployment today, underemployment, which makes us think that if we really want to transform our nation, if we really want to catapult our nation, our continent from where it is today to where it wants to be, these are some of the critical challenges that we need to address. These are some of the critical problems that we need to solve. And AI is poised to do just that for some of these challenges, not all, for some of these challenges. So at the moment, I'm just going to quickly talk about what we can use AI for. So AI can provide economic transformation in the field of agriculture, healthcare, education, infrastructure development, manufacturing and automation, fintech and mobile banking, e-commerce and logistics. And when I talk about e-commerce and logistics, I just remember just about last week or 2 weeks ago, Michael Harry Yamson did a presentation on City where they talked about the boom and how in Ghana, e-commerce has taken on a life of its own. And he was able to say this based on the data that has been collected. So you can see that artificial intelligence is already being used to transform our nation already. So what I want to do for the next couple of slides is I want to hone in on some of the critical sectors and how AI can be used for economic transformation. Let's start off with agriculture. Agriculture is one area that AI can make a significant impact to our nation. Ghana's economy is currently heavily reliant on agriculture. So AI can optimize farming practices. It can improve crop yields and facilitate better resource management. So farmers can more efficiently monitor their crops and forecast when to plant and when to harvest them. At the moment, a lot of the agriculture sector in Ghana are heavily reliant on seasons. So they plant per season, but if you're not able to effectively predict the weather, and sometimes if you look at where our weather is going, when it's supposed to be Harmattan, it's raining. When it's supposed to be raining, it's sunny. And people are losing a lot of crops and a lot of products as a result of that. But with artificial intelligence, we can effectively predict what the weather will be like, so that farmers can then choose when to plant, when to harvest. We are surrounded by other African countries, and even Ghana at the moment, there are seasons where if you want to buy tomatoes, even now, a bucket of tomatoes is 100 Ghana cedis because it's all being imported from our neighboring countries. However, if we could utilize artificial intelligence, we could find a way to have all year production of tomatoes, and we wouldn't have to buy from elsewhere. AI-powered tools can also allow us to analyze soil data. If you are into agriculture, you find out that sometimes when you plant onion in a particular place, you can't plant there for 4 years because of some of the nutrients that may have been lost from there, or whatever that has been deposited in there. So you need to practice crop rotation. With artificial intelligence, we can analyze soil data. I've already mentioned about predicting weather patterns. And then you can have the crop characteristics to provide farmers with valuable insights for decision making. What to plant and where, how often, what are my returns, how much money will I make? AI can also be used to enable the early detection and prevention of crop diseases. There are technologies that have already been designed or been developed that can detect an illness in the plants even before the naked eye comes. So can you imagine if we have our farmers who have access to these tools? You'll be able to identify where there is a disease and root it out before it spreads and before it damages all other crops. So instead of spraying pesticides across a broad swath of crops, you can only use it to access the direct ones that you know are infected and reduce how much chemicals that's actually going into the plant. And this list is not exhaustive. I mean, we are using already drones to map out, to monitor, to survey agricultural lands. So this gives you an insight on what artificial intelligence can do in agriculture, which can enhance productivity and transform our nation. Now let's move on to healthcare. Even today, we're still talking about people having limited access to healthcare. You come to Accra, and yes, you have easy access to healthcare, but the further away you move from the cities, the further you go into the rural areas, people have to get on okades, people have to get on boats to be able to now reach healthcare somewhere else. But now with artificial intelligence, you're able to provide precise diagnosis, you're able to provide treatment options, you're able to even forecast disease epidemics. This will allow us to conserve human resources and ensure equal access to healthcare for people who reside away from the major diseases. With the power of the phone, you can now have telemedicine, a person calling the doctor, FaceTiming, WhatsApping. You can even use the hash code if they have a Yamson to be able to liaise and relate with your medical provider from afar. And these are some of the capabilities of artificial intelligence in the healthcare sector. Businesses are using AI to expand access to healthcare in some of the world's most isolated regions. I mean, we've already heard about the drones to deliver blood issue that came in Ghana. The same Zipline are using drones to deliver blood and medical supplies to hospitals and clinics in Rwanda. They are reaching places where normally even cars are not able to reach. And this is the true potential of AI in the healthcare sector. We can use AI to reduce the cost of basic medical care for individuals who cannot afford to visit a real doctor for treatment, something that I've alluded to. Now let's move on quickly to the education sector. And this is an interesting one. We are now talking about, affordable education or free education for all. And artificial intelligence can play a critical role within that as well. AI can power and come up with solutions that can enhance access to quality education today. Everywhere, even over Ghana, you go to some places and you realize that people are studying under trees. People don't have access to resources. One of the biggest challenges that everybody's talking about GES schools right now is that they don't have textbooks. They don't have textbooks, they don't have materials, they don't have the information. With the use of artificial intelligence, you can be able to start to bridge some of these barriers. Artificial intelligence will enable you to have adaptive learning platforms, which can tailor educational content to individual student needs. In Ghana, we have so many disabled people with special abilities, let me call it that way. And with artificial intelligence, education can be made accessible to them. It can be made tailored to them, making learning more effective and engaging, not the traditional rote learning that we are used to. It can be tailored to your needs. It can be tailored to your pace. Artificial intelligence can also provide teacher support and professional development. So if teachers do not resist artificial intelligence and fear that it will take away their jobs, that students no longer need to go to schools, we can use artificial intelligence to focus on personalized teaching strategies to make sure that the mundane administrative tasks. I know in my institution, when we ask our faculty to upload grades or do some of the manual mundane tasks, they get frustrated because some people just want to be in the classroom and engage with the students and not spend all their time doing what they classify as unnecessary activities. You can use artificial intelligence for that as well. You can use artificial intelligence similar to healthcare to give access to education. You can use online learning platforms, mobile application. This allows you to extend educational opportunities to students who do not have access to traditional or world-class schools. And one of the things that I know that if I say my students would jump up with joy, would say that artificial intelligence will allow for objective assessment and evaluation. And I've spoken to some students across different universities, across different public schools, and sometimes they are not sure if the grades they've obtained is really objective or subjective. But artificial intelligence will allow objective assessment and evaluation to provide more efficient evaluation on student progress, and also be able to inform on your direction and how to enhance your learning further. Another critical sector that I feel like AI can be used to transform a nation is in the area of infrastructure development. Infrastructure planning, design, and monitoring. We can use data-related, population growth, and transportation patterns to support evidence-based decision-making. And we say this because it is very critical that if you're going to build an infrastructure, you need to make sure that that infrastructure is fit for purpose. How many times have we built roads in Ghana whereby within a few months of it being built, we start to see big potholes? The question is, have we used artificial intelligence to predict the amount of, cars, the type of cars that'll be going on this road? Have we been able to take into consideration the traffic that is required to service a particular development? Currently, a lot of our decisions, and I'll say seems, because I'm not in government, so I don't know what is actually done, but a lot of our decisions seem to be made not based on data. We are not making data-based decision or evidence-based decision. Rather, it seems that we're making decisions based on what people want to hear and what will get people to vote, as opposed to saying, this is the data, and this is the decision we need to make as a result of the data. In infrastructure, we can use artificial intelligence to build smart cities. So we can use AI to improve the efficiency of public services, energy management, transportation systems. I was very, very excited when I heard that the Ghana Volta and Revenue Authority, VRA, have declared that they are going to be converting Akosombo Township into a smart city. So we should all follow up on that and see where we are with that particular initiative. AI can be used within the transportation and logistic optimization. AI can be used to enhance transportation and logistics of management by predicting traffic congestion and optimizing routes. And a classic example that I can give to you relating to this particular one is how many times have you driven and then at peak period, you'll be driving and you see that the traffic light says red, but there's a policeman that's saying, go, 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 hurry up and go. And that is because that particular policeman who's standing there knows the traffic flow of the main road, and they don't clear it. It has a knock-on effect on other roads. However, with artificial intelligence, all this can be incorporated and simulated into a smart traffic light that adjusts based on demand, that adjusts based on the number of cars on the road, that ensures that there's constant movement within traffic. This means that you don't need the policeman to stand there and direct traffic. He can be there and do something else other than direct traffic. Last but not the least, within the infrastructure development, we come to construction efficiency. There are so many mundane tasks within construction that if you had AI-powered robots, if you had AI-powered automation, you can help improve your own productivity and efficiency. So things like bricklaying, welding, concrete pouring, these are all things that you can get a machine to do faster, quicker, and more efficiently. This can help speed up construction pipelines. It will reduce labor costs and enhance overall project quality. And you can ensure that every time you build something, you get it right first time consistently. Now, the big one, governance. The role of artificial intelligence in governance. And I'll touch on a number of ones for this. We can use artificial intelligence for economic forecasting and analysis. So we can use artificial intelligence predictive analysis, taking into consideration factors such as what's inflation, what's consumer prices, interest rate. We can factor all this when we are talking about economic forecasting and analysis. We can do economic growth simulation. So AI models can simulate the impact of various economic policies, our fiscal measures that we are putting in place, investment strategies on economic growth. We can simulate this and know what the output is even before we actually run some of these policies. This will allow policymakers to assess the potential outcomes of different decisions that they make and choose the most effective approach to stimulate the economic growth and reduce public debt. Wouldn't it be amazing if in Parliament, this was projected and said, based on this policy, if we enact this policy, this is the impact. If we enact that policy, this is the impact. Let us all now vote which one is best for our nation. Public expenditure monitoring. AI can help monitor and evaluate public expenditure by automating the analysis of procurement processes, by identifying inefficiencies and detecting potential instances of corruption of management. That is something that artificial intelligence is great at. When something goes out and you see an outlier, a spending pattern that is not predicted, artificial intelligence is able to highlight that. We are able to make effective decisions so that we don't put a drain on the public purse. Cost optimization and efficiency. AI can also be utilized to analyze government spending patterns and identify areas of inefficiencies or wasteful expenditure. And it will be up to the public to decide. So if you run this model and it says, you know what, we need to reduce our number of cabinet ministers, so be it. These are data-driven decisions. It gives us a way to optimize it, to make sure that with the optimum number of ministerial cabinets, we can still deliver for the nation what is required. This will reduce inefficiencies and stop wasteful expenditure. Fraud detection and prevention. AI-powered systems can assist in identifying fraudulent activities such as corruption, embezzlement, and misappropriation of funds. Enhanced revenue collection. I already mentioned about how 90% of our populace is in the informal sector. And even the 10% that are in the formal sector, people are always trying to avoid tax. So AI can be used to improve revenue collection. This can be done by analyzing and detecting patterns of tax evasion, identifying potential sources of revenue leakage and plugging the hole, optimizing tax compliance. AI algorithms can process large volumes of data, identify discrepancies, and provide insight to tax authorities for more effective and inclusive tax collection. Last but not the least, debt management and risk assessment. And this is very important for us because of where we are as a nation today. AI-powered analytics can assist in the management of public debt more efficiently. AI algorithms can analyze factors such as interest rates, debt maturity, and economic indicators to assess the risk associated with different debt instruments. Before we go for any debt, we can run a simulation to tell us, will we ever be able to pay this off? Are the interest rates that we are being offered reasonable for what we required for? And all these are things that are at our fingertips even today. So I know some of you will be thinking that, wow, we say AI can do this, AI can do infrastructure development, AI can remove mundane tasks. I've even mentioned about the fact that the policeman standing at the traffic light will not be needed because artificial intelligence can simulate that. So let me alleviate some of the few fears that people have been talking about. AI and robots will take all of our jobs. And I'm not here to tell you that they won't, because the reality is that they will. But I'm also here to give you reassurance that humans, as we are, as I said, we're a very complex system that is able to adapt. We have been talking about the fear of job displacement from when technology was first introduced. When first industrial revolution happened, they said, everybody's going to lose their jobs. We're still here. Second industrial revolution, third industrial revolution, fourth industrial revolution, Internet of Things, jobs are migrating, globalization, yet we humans are here. And that is because, yes, there will be a job displacement. And with any disruptive technology, of which artificial intelligence is one, there are always winners and losers. The jobs will be there, but they just won't be in the format that we are used to. So how do you prepare yourself to ensure that when the new job comes, you are best positioned to make sure you're best positioned, at least your nation, your young workforce are best positioned to use this leverage this technology for their own use. Security risks. Yes, artificial intelligence, that someone can hack into it. I watched a movie recently, it's called Upgrade on Netflix, whereby, it's called Upgrade on Netflix, whereby a super AI, you remember when I talked about the types of AI based on ability, a super AI, which wanted to eradicate the human that created it, then hacked into a car and caused an accident. So I know people say there's security risk. You could be driving in an autonomous vehicle, and yes, you have someone hack it somewhere and then take ownership of the vehicle. And that is true. These fears are real fears and they are risks. However, we do have systems in place to be able to combat it. There are ethical concerns around the use of artificial intelligence. And as with anything, we need to address some of these concerns and come up with mitigating circumstances to help manage and reduce some of these risks. And my favorite of all fears, AI will become smarter than humans and take over. This concept of singularity, AI not requiring humans to make decisions, but based on its own decision, takes action. So for instance, AI picks one of you audience out there and says, I have looked over your life. I don't see the value you are adding. That's it, you are out. Whereas God will say, I'm giving you more time to change your ways. The fear is that artificial intelligence will say, no, I don't see your value, terminate. And in some instances, yes, this is idea of pure fiction. But then as I explained the concept of the super AI, as I explained the concept of the highly complex machines, that proposition is still there. It is for this reason that if you're looking at a lot of the tech giants in the West, they are all saying we need to slow down our AI development. And it's more around the concept of unknown. We don't know what we don't know. Therefore, we need to be able to manage effectively. AI is growing at such a rapid scale. Everybody is developing at such a rapid scale that we need to be able to control better the development of this technology so that we reduce or manage or are on top of this concept of singularity and manage it internally. So a graph that I usually like to use to explain this, you remember when I talked about AI by capability? Today, we're using artificial narrow intelligence, which are intelligence that are less human. We are having to input the data. The work now is that if we don't control artificial intelligence, and we allow it to run crazy, anybody can develop anything to do anything, then by 2040, we are looking at artificial general intelligence. And by 2060, artificial super intelligence. The question is that, do we want to get to that level? And if we don't, what mitigations and what policies and processes are we putting in place so that we can control the development of these technologies? As I said, with any technologies, there are winners and losers. And the way the winners become winners is that they utilize that technology for their own development. So how do we utilize this technology for our own development and slow down the negative effects? The future of AI. So somewhere around 83% of organizations believe that artificial intelligence will become a strategic priority for their business. And this question I wanted to ask, how many Ghanaian organizations, how many African organizations actually are even thinking about artificial intelligence today? We are told that 31% of marketing and IT related companies are investing in AI in the upcoming months. It's like live right now. They are investing in artificial intelligence. According to AI experts, the AI market will go to $190 billion by 2025. And the question that I ask is that, what is our Africa's contribution to that? What is our role in that? And according to the IDC, it says 75 of commercial apps that we use today are using AI already. And we've seen these on our phones. Prior to doing this presentation, I actually went online to search the Artificial Intelligence Readiness Index. They surveyed 170 countries. And the top 25, there was not a single African country. And I think the highest country was 45. In the top 100, there was only 3. Which makes us ask the question, what are we doing as a nation? I've been able to show how AI can transform key critical sectors that is of economic importance to our society. So what do we need to do? What is the way forward? We need an artificial intelligence, national artificial intelligence strategy. And we're already far behind because the AI Readiness Index is based on artificial intelligence strategies of those countries, what they have done, how they have planned to prepare for it, and what are some of the mitigation investment that they've actually put into that. And we are not on that map at all because I'm not sure we even have an intelligence strategy. All over Ghana, you hear that people are doing AI. I mean, I'm part of the Ghana STEM network, and you see the amazing work people are doing with artificial intelligence in Ghana. But once again, this is being done in silos. This is being done in minute proportions. We need a consolidated effort for national transformation, and we need to be deliberate about it. We need to be intentional about it. And to be able to do this, we need the right form of leadership. And this is leadership from both the private and public sectors to drive this national AI strategy. Let's enhance on the leadership a little bit more, because it's not any type of leadership will be able to get us to where we need to get to. 1, to be effectively leverage AI opportunities, both in the private and the public sectors, we require visionary, adaptable, and collaborative leaders who can work together to drive innovation, address challenges, and ensure responsible usage of artificial intelligence. We need leaders who possess the technological acumen required for this. And I mean, I'll cite Dr. Yamson as a classic example. Dr. Yamson celebrated his 81st birthday today, and he called me and said, Lucy, we are talking about artificial intelligence. You need technological acumen leaders who are technology savvy for where we are going as a continent or as a world. And not only that, you need long-term strategic thinking leaders. Leaders should think beyond the short-term gains and focus on long-term strategic planning. So it's not about winning an election for the next 4 years. We're looking at Ghana's transformation in the next 10, 15, 20 years time with the long and long-term gain in mind. AI adoption may require significant investment and patience. And we need leaders who are committed to it long-term to the benefits of the AI implementation. Why we should not ignore the power of AI. Why we need to get on the train. And the reason why I say this is because this is very important, because the AI train is moving at a rapid pace. It's evolving every single day. And that train will not wait for us. We all know that we have to go from one destination A to B. Some people are already on a supersonic flight to that place. Some people have taken British Airways. Some people have taken taxis. Africa can't be saying that we are going to walk to that place. We need to jump onto this train. And now is the time to do that. We need to start creating data for our own selves, data that we can store, data that we can manage, data that we can aggregate or mine for our own national developments. We need to have an educational system that is preparing our graduates for the job of tomorrow, not jobs that will no longer exist in the next 5 to 10 years. We cannot just sit around and do nothing. Now is the time to act. We need leaders to advocate for AI across all sectors. And it's such a pity that right now, even as I'm speaking to you, we don't know how many leaders within Ghana are advocating and are speaking, we cannot be left behind. We cannot be left behind. We need to do something. We need to upskill our workforce to be drivers of this technology. This is the one-time opportunity that we have, that Africa doesn't have to be users of technology only. We don't have to wait for someone to fully develop it and then export it to us and then we use it. This is our time for us to mine our own data, to become drivers of our own technology, to create things for us, by us. We need our own data to be able to get to train. We need our own data which we can then use to train our own artificial intelligence that can help our own economic transformation. The wise words of Albert Einstein, who is beautifully clad in kente today, says, we cannot solve the problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. On that note, I want to say a massive thank you to Ishmael, Yamson and Associates for giving me the opportunity to do this presentation. I need to declare some of the information came from ChatGPT, some came from research resources. And the image you see there is an AI-generated image of Albert Einstein wearing kente clothing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Lucy, for this enlightening presentation. I found your perspective on the potential of AI in the various sectors highly informative. And one key point that resonated with me was your emphasis on the role of AI in agriculture and the ability to leverage AI technologies for predictive analytics in farming practices. And I can go on and on, but I can also see that you have already sparked conversations in our chats as well. So I'll just go in there quickly and then read some of the questions and then the contributions as well. So someone says, Margaret says, some has been growing snails and crops using greenhouses. Is this an example of the use of AI in agriculture?
Right. So the use of greenhouses to grow, greenhouses basically provide a safe environment Greenhouses provide a safe and controlled environment for, let's say, agriculture to thrive. This is an application of a technology, not necessarily AI. Where artificial intelligence will come in is if you use artificial intelligence to try and extract some data to make some decision based on the snail farm that you have. Basically, over the years, what do you know about your snails? What do they need to thrive? Do they need a certain condition to live in? You can use AI to predict. You can use AI. You can use AI to basically give you the most conducive environment for your snails to thrive in. So greenhouses are one great technology for keeping pests and protecting and providing a good climate for plants or any products to thrive in. And at that level of complexity will be added artificial intelligence so that you make some critical decisions and ensure that you enhance the livelihood of your snails, if I can put it in that way.
So we need to do things like that.
Okay, so Fatima also here says AI in education is a supplement and not a replacement. What will be needed to ensure critical thinking? I think she wants to say among teachers and focusing on localized curriculum and all that. Okay, let me just try to get some questions here.
And also, we need to consider the direction of both.
Okay, so I think a lot of them here are contributions. Richard says it's time for Ghana and Africa as a whole to think how to develop the continent to become more doable. Fatima says very insightful, thanks a lot, excellent presentation. Samuel also says same. So a lot of them are saying excellent presentation and all this. Let me try to get some questions. Okay, so Philip says, according to Mo Goldat, I don't know if I pronounced that right, a former chief business officer at Google who resigned from Google due to his concerns about the ethical development of AI at the company. The AI industry has crossed all 3 red lines in the development and rollout of AI. His 3 red lines are: we should not put AI resources into the open source on the internet without first putting in place a robust regulatory framework. Second is we should teach AIs how to self-code. And then again, we shouldn't provide AIs with other assistive AI agents to augment the capabilities of AI for now. Okay. And then finally, he said, Dr. Lucy Japon, please, what do you make of the above concerns of Goldat?
So I think that is genuine concerns, and if you look on my slide where I talked about the disadvantages of,
I'm trying.
When I look at the disadvantages of artificial intelligence, I touched on the fact that regulation and law are not catching up fast enough. And in line with this, it's very important. We need to the development of AI needs to be controlled. We need a controlled, strategic approach to this, because at the moment it feels more like a free for all. And when something is free for all, that's when sometimes you don't know what the unintended consequences is. So I do agree that we need to control it more. We need nations to come up with their own policies and strategies around it, come up with a legal framework around the development. Not everybody should have access. I would say I agree with that. On the other side, though, I also feel that we also need to explore, everybody needs to be advised to do it in an ethical manner and to do it at a more, a strategic way. So I wouldn't disagree too much with that one. And I understand the concerns, because every day somebody's coming up with something that can do amazingly, amazing things that we haven't factored or thought about. And it needs to be controlled. We need regulations. And without regulations, people can go haywire. So I'd agree with that.
Okay, so Kofi Dadis here says, in your estimate, where are we on capacity, academic and industry, to develop and leverage AI in a local context? If we are not there, what would we need to do to close the gap and quickly?
And that is a very, very important question. Where are we on capacity? And again, as I said within the presentation, you will see that when you do a landscape search, you find out that we are doing pockets of work in artificial intelligence in different areas, but there are no consolidated effort. I mean, training the skill force that is required to take this program by the horns is a task that we need to be doing now. You will realize that a lot of the people that are in the artificial industry within Ghana are self-taught. Most of them are self-taught. They went online and studied themselves. And it was for this reason that us at Academic City decided to launch artificial intelligence as an undergraduate program. We are one of the only universities that's offering artificial intelligence as an undergraduate program. Since then, there have been other institutions that are doing it at a master's program. There are other institutions that are doing it at a PhD level. But what is important is that we need to look at all our curriculum and make sure that they are technology oriented, because the jobs of today, they don't look anything like the jobs of tomorrow. The kind of work or the jobs that will exist for people in grade 1 right now, those jobs don't exist yet. The kind of jobs that they'll be working on. I mean, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, who would have said social media influencer? 5 years ago, who would have said a data analyst? And these are all new jobs that are coming up. We need to tool the workforce with the right thing. So what we need to do is we need more targeted education around it. We need to give people the practical skills. So we're not just saying go and read about it. We want people who are developing from the word get-go, who are getting the hands-on skills. We have a lot of computer science students who are coming out of our universities. But we want students who have the hands-on experiential skill that is needed to start deploying, to start coding. We can't wait and just teach the way we teach today.
Okay, thank you very much. Julius also sent a contribution. He says there are startups in Ghana that are leading the way in AI. Kangaroo AI is one. We have a silo approach to the adoption of AI.
Exactly. So that's where we need a strategic approach. And I think that is where, if we look on the last slide, we need a consolidated effort. And the consolidated effort requires the right leadership. So we can pull all these industries, all these startups, all these, I mean, right now, even my little girl who is 6 years old, there are schools, people come and teach robotics, AI. So we are trying to do it. It's so small, at small scale, that to see that impact will be difficult. Whether if we have a consolidated effort, we have the right leadership, bringing in private, public sectors to have directed approach, then we will be able to, bridge that particular gap.
Okay, so I'm trying to get the questions, but I'll add this contribution from Richard. It says traditional leaders exhibit power over. They not only have the final say, but they devise most of the goals and strategies. Sustainable leaders strike a balance by empowering their team.
Yes.
Okay, Sylvia also shared a contribution here. She said, we cannot solve the problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Definitely a mindset shift requires. Like, definitely a mindset shift is required. I'm sure that's what she wanted to say. Okay. Fatima also added a submission here. Humans will only be replaced in roles where critical thinking is not required. With AI, source, disclosure, and verified materials will be key. Contextual understanding leads to inaccurate or incomplete info. We really need to have a think tank that localizes AI for the continent. If we snore, we lose. Okay. Okay, I think that will be all for the question and answer session. Dr. Yamson, I'm sure, would like to share his contribution as well. So, Dr. Yamson.
No, thank you very much, Winifred and Lucy. Lucy always likes to say, I'll give you the last word. But I have been very much impressed with the presentation. It's something that has agitated my mind for quite some time. And the points you made about a national strategic agenda and consolidation of all the things that we are doing in silos are very important. Unfortunately, we are very far behind, as we just pointed out. It will be very sad that when we have people like you, and I must say that there are many people also in the diaspora who can make great contribution to this country in AI, and I do hope that whatever strategy the government puts together, and I must say, and I must emphasize the point you made, that this must be a joint strategic development by both the public and the private sector. The situation where the public sector always, launches people strategies on the private sector may not work in this case, because in the advanced world, the private sector is way ahead of government. And that is why EU, for instance, has put a stop on development until they are ready with regulations and things like that. So it is doable. We can do it. Africa, and we all know civilization started from Africa. And yet now Africa is so far behind in civilization. There's nothing that says that we cannot rediscover ourselves with our ingenuity. So I must call you Engineer Dr. Lucy Japan. We are very grateful. I have seen many people asking whether the slides and the presentations can be shared.
Yes, so it was streamed live on Facebook, and then it will be uploaded on our YouTube page as well, Ishmael Yamson and Associates. So you can check on that later and then watch it all over again.
So thank you very much, Lucy. I'm looking forward for another opportunity as soon as we can to bring you back to size us up again. Thank you very much for your time, for the energy. I feel so convinced as I sit here that we have younger people brighter than those of us whose brains now are fighting AI, and hopefully we can use it to empower our country and the rest of Africa. Indeed, there are many areas that we should tackle. I'm very hopeful that there is the enthusiasm and the willingness in our youth to use AI and to use it to help develop this country.